Good evening. This is Maestro Cretella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 2v2 on Medean Cliff Mines. Our first player is Vapor, playing as the Orc Kommando Nob. A sneaky Orc who can infiltrate, shoot guns, blow things up, and stab things. His teammate is Fish, playing as the Orc Warboss. Man, messed that up twice. The Orc Warboss. This is a tanky melee hero, can be very aggressive, charge, knock things over, and disrupt things. On the other team, on the Chaos side, we've got a faction battle, by the way. We've got Rostam, 313, playing as the Plague Champion. Chaos ranged hero with a damage over time bolter. Later on gets melee weapons, can also repair vehicles. Finally, we have a bag that's made of paper. And this PaperBaG is playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a long-range spellcasting hero who can also have some control spells as well. Alright then, blue team looking like they're doubling the middle, scaring off the heretics from Rostam 313. Looks like Rostam 313 probably gonna... Oh, I was gonna say he's probably gonna go into a double Chaos Space Marine build. Instead he chooses to go for double heretics. Could have gotten that second heretic squad out much sooner, much in the way that PaperBaG is. Man, PaperBaG attempted a flank, but was vastly outnumbered, and ended up having to just retreat the Sorcerer out of there. Unfortunately, I don't know how well this is working out for the Chaos players, kind of going in split up. Basically just, again, vastly outnumbered. In a way, though, that wasn't bad for Rostam, because of the fact that he actually inflicted some losses on the Shooter Squad, did not lose any Chaos Space Marine models, but now he's just going to bleed some Heretic models, doesn't lose too many, actually ended up losing six in total, which, as cheap as those Heretic models are, he still lost a lot of them. Now he's also going to lose the Power Node. So right now the play from the blue team is a little bit more coordinated, while the play from the red team is a little bit more disjointed. And the Orks kind of have good early pressure. And right now, Fish is kind of overrunning Rostam. Rostam having trouble holding his ground. You know, here comes PaperBaG, moving in pretty close with the Sorcerer. Was so close to the Sorcerer, or was so close with the Sorcerer, and did not get out the second volley of Doom Bolts in there. Did not shoot out all the Doom Bolts that he could have. Might be going in a little bit too hard for that one Shooter Squad. One Shooter Squad, actually down to just one model and 26 hit points. Manages to get a special attack. Might have saved the Sorcerer there from going down, getting that special attack on the Sluggers. Meanwhile, Noise Marine's out for PaperBaG. So one of the things that is relatively new about the Noise Marines, and one of the things I say relatively new, but man, there goes in some Blight Grenades. The Noise Marines no longer shut down ranged weapons immediately. It actually takes a little bit of time before that actually takes effect. That knockback, however, that's immediate. Knockback from the Cacophony ability. Here's the infiltration from the Heretic Worship, but I think the Heretics positioned a little too far forward there, and then just made them easy targets for the Shooter Boys, which forces them to unworship, losing the effects of worship, but he does manage to take out the Warboss anyway. Warboss was kind of just overextended and unsupported there. Only had one squad of Shooter Boys helping him out. Shooter Boys actually getting their Nob leader. They already have their big shooters. And it looks like we're going to see two fully upgraded squads of Shooter Boys for Fish. Meanwhile, even Vapor is going along with it. So, and the combined range damage of 4 squads of shooters is going to be pretty intense. Like, those Heretic models are going to bleed very, very quickly. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen one of the Chaos Space Marine models drop. I think he was very, very lucky not wanting to lose one of those Chaos Space Marine models there. Meanwhile, we're going to see grenade launcher heretics from Rostam. Both of his heretics have been converted to grenade launchers. So we're going for a purely ranged build for Rostam, which I think is more viable with the Plague Champion than probably the other Chaos Heroes, or at least the Sorcerer. But it looks like he's paying for it, because now he has no answer whatsoever to the Storm Boys. He's going to lose a lot of generators here. Honestly, he's probably going to lose the entire farm. Because this is 4 squads of Shudas. We've got the Storm Boys with their power melee damage. This farm is not lasting. This is not looking good for the Chaos Heroes. So, what is good for the Chaos Heroes is they actually had that farm up for a while, whereas it seems like this farm is down. So, the power income is now actually roughly even for both teams. So, Storm Boys for Vapor. And that was good. The way you used the Storm Boys, got them in, did some damage, and actually got them out of there without losing a single mob. Well done on the part of the Storm Boys. And I'm not even sure how much the Storm Boys, how much damage they actually did to like other squads or units, but they didn't even really have to. Them jumping in was scary enough because their damage is actually quite incredible. Meanwhile, Shooter Boy is going to focus down the scouts, the heretics. Heretics were in cover briefly, but using those grenade launcher barrages to turn the tide of those range fights, since they will disrupt, they will do area of effect damage, they will disrupt with their grenade barrage ability, and then of course just the basic attack from the grenade launchers does do area of effect damage, so it's pretty good against those squads that are a little bit squishier. Meanwhile, the Warboss still out here. He possibly could have stayed out there longer. In fact, considering the Storm Boys are jumping in right now, he should have actually stayed in there longer. And we're going to see the Storm Boys with their complete inability to kill things on retreat. One of their just ironically really bad things about them, which, to be fair, if they were actually good at killing things on retreat, they probably would be pretty overpowered, because their damage when they're in melee is actually incredibly powerful. Don't remember it off the top of my head. A shame. A shame.
Ready for action, boss.
I think it's 30 DPS power melee per model, and then there is also the Nob. Anyway, this could be the end of another Chaos power farm. Actually, I think the defense here from Chaos is going to work. That disruption on the Sluggas just lasted forever, and then there was enough focus fire from the Chaos Space Marines to deter the Slugga Boys from staying any longer, as well as the approach on the Shooter Boys as well. So that's one farm conserved. Orks in the position to make another push, but this time it will just be on a lone power node. Which, I mean, is helpful, but not as big as scoring an entire power farm. So, it hurts his power income by a whole 3, but there's also the cost of the requisition that was paid for it. Alright, Warboss has been upgraded with the Angry Bits, gives him the Now I'm Angry ability, lets him charge, increases his damage by 35%, his speed by 1.5, his health regeneration by 7.5, and knocking back enemies in his path. I think it's often well paired with another war gear, such as the spiky armor, or later on the heavy armor. By itself, I feel by itself, at least by itself, it used to not be as strong by itself. Certainly when paired with an armor, it's actually going to be pretty ridiculous. And Warboss actually already level 4, Kommando Nob level 2, and some things going on here that I'm missing. There we go, the Storm Boys with the Nob. We also have the improved rocket packs, granting the Bomber Boys ability. I think a lot of things have actually been changed since the last time I played this game a lot. Wow, still a wipe on retreat. It says dealing 45 explosive damage. That actually almost sounds like it was nerfed from what I remember, but still enough there to cause the retreat kill. But the increased jump range by 15, I feel like that's new. Meanwhile, Bloodcrusher out on the field for Rostam. Fish looking like he lost one of his squads. Storm Boy still out on the field for Vapor. And we do have Sluggas. The sluggers for fish actually have their knob, while the ones for vapor don't. And here's the Bloodcrusher over here to just bash this generator. Bloodcrusher with heavy melee is actually going to bash the generator fairly quickly. Needs to be very careful, but there is currently no real answer to the Bloodcrusher. We are starting to see the Warboss, however, with a potential response. He already has the Power Claw, and he's also getting the spiky armor. So, this Bloodcrusher is potentially in trouble. I think it'll be fine, actually. There's nothing to lock the Bloodcrusher down. And although the Warboss can be fairly good at chasing, as long as the charge is not on cooldown, he should be able to use the Bloodcrusher's charge to escape from the Warboss. And actually, it looks like... I actually feel like the positioning of Rostam with his... wow. I was going to say a complete whiff on the... the Tank Buster rockets, but I don't think it actually was a complete whiff. The barrage missed a lot. So Warboss now does have the spiky armor, so passively deals 6 piercing damage in radius 3. That's still the same as it was before. Increases health and health regeneration. So yeah, the combined health regeneration of both the Angry Bits when he uses the Now I'm Angry ability, as well as the one that's just granted passively with the spiky armor, combines to make him very, very tanky. Of course, he would be tankier with the heavy armor, but that isn't available until Tier 3. And it's probably honestly worth it to just get the spiky armor earlier on rather than wait for the heavy armor. I mean, you can switch to the heavy armor later, but it's just substantially better to get the spiky armor on top of the Angry Bits than just getting the Angry Bits by itself. Khorne Chaos Space Marines from PaperBaG, meanwhile. Khorne Chaos Space Marines are not always expected, but they do have their uses. Power melee axes, very good at chasing, they actually have increased speed. And grants the squad the Battle Fury ability. There is a Blastmaster on the Noise Marines. It looks like their first shot. We'll see another Blastmaster shot go in, knocking down the Warboss. Warboss has activated Ardboys on himself, making it a lot harder for that Bloodcrusher to deter him. And then the Warboss might turn around, and now the Bloodcrusher has to be a little scared. Is using its superior mobility, but now it's walking right into some Orks. I don't think this is a good play. I think this is charge out of your time, but he is committing. I don't think it's going to work. Alright, he does decide to charge out of here, but I think it's too late, and I think that's the end of the Bloodcrusher, and it is. I think the charge out of there should have come much, much earlier. Unless he had really just given up on the Bloodcrusher. So if we take a look at our builds, we do have a squad of Bloodletters on the way for Rostam. Plague Marines already out on the field from PaperBaG. Plague Marines are... I'm actually really surprised to see the Plague Marines. I do feel that they're somewhat meh in terms of their range damage being fairly low. At this point, I feel like they're mostly just like a bullet sponge, more of a tanking unit than a damage unit. And I don't know, there might have been better choices that he could have gotten. Meanwhile, the Kommando Nob has equipped his Special Shooter. Does give him a 30% chance to do weapon knockback just on hit, which, I mean, 30% doesn't sound high, but, I mean, in practice, it happens enough for it to make a difference. Meanwhile, the Warboss in a position where he might not go down. Oh, teleport and another... okay, teleport, and then there's also Warp Fire on retreat. Would also have been a way to seal that kill, I think. Level 6 Sorcerer already. Level 5 Plague Champion has now switched to melee. Does have the Plague Fist as well as the Armor of Pestilence, which is honestly mostly the expected warrior loadout. At least the Plague Fist as well as the Armor of Pestilence is pretty much the expected warrior loadout for the Plague Champion beyond Tier 1. Blight Grenades, if anything, are something that might change. So VP is actually significantly in favor of the Orks, but I mean the battle momentum feels relatively even, with both sides kind of trading out. Chaos right now, actually, I feel like they are in the lead in terms of, they at least have a stronger power income at the moment. I'd say maybe a slight economic advantage. But we already have a looted tank out on the field from Vapor. That looted tank, I think, needs to drive into battle to just really press their advantage further. Because as long as this looted tank is the only tank out on the field, right now it really is the Orc team that really has the advantage. They just have the superior composition, the superior unit out on the field, and not much of a dodge on those stick bombs. And soon we are going to see other units come out on the field. We're going to see a Land Raider Phobos from PaperBaG, Chaos Dreadnought out on the field from Rostam, although Dreadnought, he's going to have to upgrade it. Well, actually, maybe I take that back. He should, though. He should. Grenade Launcher Heretics have actually been doing very well to slow down the Shooter Boys. I feel like I underestimated them a little bit. Taking good advantage of cover, and that's especially useful. A good way to use the Grenade Launcher Heretics. Make sure they're in cover, because even though they're squishy, they'll be in cover, and then they will take reduced damage even from the high DPS Shooter Boys. And then, of course, the Heretics, because they have grenade launchers will actually be anti-cover. Those will actually counter cover, so the opposing unit won't be able to use that advantage, even if there is cover available. Chaos Shrine going up, Shrine of Nurgle, which has in practice proved to be the most worthwhile shrine of all to get, between the healing, the reinforcement. Warboss going to charge in. Charges into the Plague Marines, which I don't know what the Plague Marines are really doing up there. I mean, I guess they are kind of distracting the attention. Storm Boys jumping in. I don't know about this. This could actually be really bad for the Storm Boys unless they really hard commit to taking out the Shrine, and they just end up having to retreat. Lost one model. I mean, if anything, losing only one model is not so bad. It's the looted tank that I think is going to need to commit to taking out the Chaos Shrine of Nurgle, since it will take it out the fastest. Just make sure it gets that cannon shots on the Chaos Shrine of Nurgle, because soon the Land Raider Phobos is going to come out, and that Land Raider Phobos might make very short work of the looted tank. Meanwhile, Kommando Nob has also been upgraded so that he now has his rocket launcher. That rocket launcher, not terribly powerful, but I mean, you're getting it on an infiltrated unit, so he can often create a positional advantage using his infiltration to just be in a spot where you can pincer a vehicle and make it really, really difficult to escape, especially if you also have tank busters approaching from the front. But he's actually doing right now what's also, I'd say, actually pretty common for Commando players, which is he's actually switching back and forth between guns. Especially with AV weapons in this game, having that, basically that impractical property of basically being roughly useless against infantry, but being completely necessary against any vehicles that are out on the field. Here's a Dreadnought from Rostam, and of course this is a Tzeentch Dreadnought, but it's also a Death Guard Dreadnought, so not getting a good look at it from the kind of the angling of the camera, but this is a Death Guard Dreadnought, special skin in the Elite mod, but it's also been upgraded with the mark of Tzeentch, so it has missile launchers, which, coming to understand more and more the lore complications of that, but yeah, whatever. I do feel the Tzeentch missile launcher is kind of necessary, just to give that extra AV firepower against something like the looted tank, really deter the looted tank, even though this doesn't exactly win against the looted tank. But I think with the overall AV that the blue team has, it's enough to actually really just scare off that looted tank and force it to play conservative. Storm Boys jumping in. You know what? If they go for that Noise Marine squad and they do it quickly, but instead we're going to have the Dirge Caster on the Land Raider Phobos, Wow, we had another jump from the Storm Boys. I don't know what's going on there. They might take out the. All right, they do take out the. My God, what is it? The Blastmaster. Lane Raider Phobos in a lot of trouble though, taking a lot of hits from the tank busters, trying to bust that Lane Raider Phobos. Meanwhile, the Chaos Dreadnought in a bit of trouble, but the looted tank is going to go down. So I think that was kind of just a miss micro, or even just a non-micro on the looted tank there, because the Chaos Dreadnought does out DPS a looted tank, and it also out DPSs a looted tank, and it also has more hit points. The reason why the looted tank should win is the mobility. So, and he wasn't using the mobility there. Kind of just ran them straight into each other. The DPS of the Tzeentch missile launcher is actually higher. So VPs have actually been completely evened up, and it's now looking really good for our Chaos players. They've got full power farms as opposed to only one. They've got 2 full power farms compared to 1 for the Orks. Starting to get bigger armies, got a lead in VPs. Soon to possibly be a triple cap. And there is an Imperial Abyss. Completely wipes 1 shooter squad and kills off a bunch of the models off the second one. Nearly wipes the second one with a hook pull. So slow reactions on trying to get out of that Imperial Abyss, and that was the Tzeentch Abyss from PaperBaG. Which, I mean, in practice, there's not an actual difference between a Tzeentch Abyss, a Khorne Abyss, or a Nurgle Abyss. Just that visual effect. Which is rather nice. Alright, the Nobs here are being slowed by the Plague Marines. That is smart. But he shouldn't actually commit the... No, that was a mistake. Well, looks like the Orc team, however, is actually, at this point, kind of conceding. I mean, obviously, there hasn't been the actual concede yet. But Fish calling a GG, triple cap, with the Orcs just starting to get short on manpower, or Orc power. Alright, well, I mean, they still technically have a chance here, but it is a slim one. So Warboss will get the decap on the middle, and then Storm Boys get the full cap on their natural. So it is a 1-to-1 game, but with a significant VP lead for the red team, for the Chaos team, and they just have so much more. They just have so many more units at this point that it's really looking like it's going in their favor. And yeah, I'd say that pretty much seals the deal. We've got a great unclean one coming out on the field. Warboss just went down. He was kind of their last hope, I think. Death Dread out on the field, and that Stompy Tin Can, unfortunately, really just isn't going to be enough to push back the Chaos team. I believe that is the grappling hook. A grappling hook, which looks ridiculous. But that should soon-ish be the double cap. And we did see the Plague Champion actually switch out the Blight Grenade to the Icon of Nurgle. Just gives him a damage over time aura around himself. Orcs jumping in, so looks like they haven't completely quit, but this still isn't going to work. Oh man, some units just getting gibbed by the Blastmaster Noise Ring right there, and I think this is kind of the last. This is it. This is the final engagement. So Chaos Dreadnought upgrading to the Mark of Khorne. Land Raider Warboss was taken out. I think I missed that though. A little bit of a shame. And this is a Nurgle Predator, so it's not doing a substantial amount of damage to the Death Dread. But at this point, this Death Dread is done. Combined with the Plague Marines, as well as the Nurgle Predator, still actually doing some damage to vehicles. I don't know. Wow. I mean, no. This is gaming. Vapor and Fish actually being very tenacious in the end, but still giving up a little bit too much. They get the double cap back, but there's no way they're going to be able to hold it long enough to finish off this game. Yeah, Fish just building Death Dreads, but ultimately losing them. And this cap right here will mark the end of the game.
Yes, a good idea for the war.
Called Commando Squad out on the field, but too little, too late. Actually throws down a Burn-a-Bomb, which is doing huge damage to the Heretic Squad that's here. Actually enough to actually scare them off. Just needs to put another unit on the point. Could be the Khorne Marines right here. Could be the Plague Marines. Either one of those are durable enough that they won't get scared off even by something like a Burn-a-Bomb. Fish now with literally nothing out on the field. Still just put Death Dreads on Overwatch. And Red Team kind of dragging their feet in terms of getting the cap and finishing off this game.
The Warboss we liked is back at his own camp. That's genius.
Some infiltrated knobs. And come on, just capture the front already. There's not actually that much left to even commentate on. Like, this game should be over. Alright, there's actual just a concede. Because they literally have no squads left. Alright. That's about it for this cast. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.